Andrea, why don't we get things going? Speaking of tariffs, well, here's the big news.
Mhm.
U.S. President Donald Trump threatening 35% tariffs on Canadian goods starting August 1. I know there's some exceptions there, oil, potash, which is very significant, of course. What I would like to dwell on, though, Drea, is where's Mark Carney? Didn't Mark Carney run on I'm Captain Canuck versus the big bad orange man in the White House during the federal election? Wasn't he sold as the solution to U.S. tariffs and potentially us becoming the 51st state, which is, of course, a joke? But needless to say, a significant number of people bought that line, hook, line, and stinker, I might
Yeah.
add. And what's happened? Remember elbows up? Oh, elbows up. By the way, I have to go off on a tangerine here. That is the most stupid phrase imaginable.
Uh,
Elbows up in hockey. You're getting a penalty. It's called elbowing. Anyway, suddenly all's quiet on the Ottawa front. As I understand it, Drea, Mark Carney is on vacation. By the way, it hasn't been revealed the details of that vacation. Is he vacationing in Canada? I'd really like to know that. You know, lead by example. We're supposed to be boycotting the U.S., for instance. But Drea, I would, if I were Mark Carney, even if it was just for optics,
mhm.
I would cancel the vacation. I would recall Parliament, say, yep, it's summer. Traditionally, we're off, but this is too important.
Yeah.
Remember, in his own words, the U.S. was an existential threat to Canada. And so we have Donald Trump burning the midnight oil on so many files. And Mark Carney, the elbows up, it's more like elbows reclined in a beach chair somewhere. This is crazy. If or plan B, maybe the US isn't an existential threat. Maybe Mark Carney had no intention of putting his elbows up. Maybe Mark Carney doesn't have a response to US tariffs. I just can't believe what I'm witnessing right now.
Well, I had an epiphany a couple of weeks back. It's elbows up because you can punch yourself in the face better in that position, which makes it all make perfect sense because that's exactly what we've elected here. But if you look back, I mean, it took forever for the House to sit in the first place. He took a while to call that. He's been going to France too much. Now he's on this mystery vacation that we don't know about, just like the budget. And we're supposed to be battling in this trade war where, like you said, he was supposed to be the guy to get us through, and that isn't happening. I have a little bit of whiplash going back and forth between the tariff threats and our response. Are we retaliating? Are we not? I mean, when he tried to do the online tax, his tail was in between his leg very quick there when the Trump administration said, you know what, we're done with Canada, no more negotiations. Well, that ended quickly. But as we've written here in that article written by our very own Alex Dollywall, some journalists, I believe it was with the CNN, kind of like our CBC out here, but for the US, is calling Carney a Trump whisperer of sorts. So much of a whisper, you can't hear what his strategy is at all when it comes to the negotiation table.
It again, Drea, I find the strategy or lack thereof just inexplicable. Carney has been on record saying if there's any U.S. tariffs, Canada will match them dollar for dollar. Guess what? That's not a strategy. The U.S. economy is more than 10 times the size of the Canadian economy. That's not going to hurt them. And what I would do, you remember that great line from Austin Powers when Dr. Evil, who's trying to get caught up on current events, and he says, throw me a bone here. Let's throw Donald Trump some bones instead of threats. Two in particular. One, get the Keystone XL up and running, which
Mhm.
Trump supports. And how about this? I know supply management for all political parties except the PPC, it is a third rail issue. They won't touch it. But I really think if this liberal government is serious, If it doesn't mean eliminating supply management, it means giving significant concessions to the tariff framework that are in supply management, some of which are almost 300% when it comes to U.S. imported dairy. And we know Donald Trump is obsessed with our supply management system. And you know, Drea, wouldn't building Keystone XL be fantastic for domestic steel producers, domestic aluminum producers, get our oil sector up and running? Wouldn't that be win-win?
Yes, it would be a win-win. And again, you have to go down to conspiracy land about why we're not doing that. The other thing that Trump has pointed out in his open letter that was on Truth Social is, of course, fentanyl again, which is
Yep.
what he led with before, says that in March and currently, sorry, started at the wrong part here. Mr. Trump justified the levies as an effort to force Canada to do more to address U.S. complaints about fentanyl trafficking and illegal migration. So again, Mark Carney is telling us all that they're doing amazing strides. I think we talk about that in the next thing, but it seems the U.S. government is saying no, it's still not good enough.
Not only that, Drea, in terms of fentanyl trafficking and illegal migration, what has Carney said recently? They're going to make cuts to border security. Now, normally, I'm pro cutting just about everything in the federal government. We saw how the bureaucracy grew exponentially under Justin Trudeau. But right now, with fentanyl and illegal migration being big concerns of this current DC administration, you don't cut there. That is the last place you cut.
Yeah.
And we also, what's significant, it's not just that fentanyl is coming into Canada via China. There have been reports of fentanyl being produced in Canada. And I know the Liberals, they point to, it's a stat, forgive me, I should have researched this, but it was a insignificant, in their view, amount of kilograms of fentanyl that was seized at the border last year. But yeah, here's the deal, Drea. That was the amount seized. What amount got through the border? We don't know. And I bet you it was a far greater number than the amount seized. So again, this is really bad strategy for a guy who sold himself as the new age Captain Canuck. Then again, I remember when Captain Canuck came back out in the 70s, that was the least powerful superhero. It's just a guy in a spandex costume. He doesn't even have Batman's utility belt, so no wonder he's channeling Captain Canuck.
Yeah.
But there you have it. And it, like I said, even if it was just for political hay, cancel your vacation, recall Parliament, and at least pretend that you're doing something.
It's time to lead. It's plain and simple. That's what you promised us you'd do during the election. Here's the time to prove it.
Yeah.
But if we look at this article we've got going on here, they say that even if those tariffs go through on August 1st as threatened, Canada won't be hurt that bad.
Right.
Is what they're saying. So Donald Trump's latest tariff threat might not have as much impact on Canada as first feared, but no one is breathing easy just yet. You think? No, we're not. So it goes over the letter, of course, and what it entails. And it says that a Carney government official told the Star it was still unclear to the Canadian government which goods the 35% tariff rate would apply to, despite all the media reports going on. And Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand told reporters in Malaysia on Thursday she was set to meet with the U.S. Secretary for some clarification on that, and also for what's been happening with our steel and aluminum there. But yeah, basically they're like, oh, don't worry about it. The PM's on vacation. It won't be that bad. We'll deal with it when he gets back, whenever that is.
100%, Dre. And not only that, it is clear for senior cabinet ministers, there's a gag order in place in terms of them talking about this. But doesn't that article make my point? There's a lack of clarity. Yeah, so why not get to the table and get
Yeah.
clarification on what these tariffs apply to, even though there are significant exceptions such as oil and gas and potash. And by the way, you mentioned something in terms of why Carney isn't all that big on resource development, and I think you said the word conspiracy theories. You need not go down that path, Drea.
Yeah.
I would say this to you, to anyone in our audience: read Mark Carney's book, Values. And I would say this, Drea: if even half the electorate had read that book before he ran as Liberal leader, I think we're looking at a different government. How can you see what Carney's ideas are in his own words, in writing, and think this is prime ministerial material? It's funny. Mark Carney's name is on that book. It should be Stephen King because it's a horror novel. Let me tell you.
Absolutely, it's a horror novel for us. And what was it? One of their own committees, one of the Liberal committees, is basically predicting the doom and gloom that values book sets out. If that becomes the values of Canada, now I must admit I haven't read the book. It's on my list of things. I should join a book club for it. But I did watch the podcast that Jordan Peterson did going over, and I wish many who were voting watched that as well, because I think he did a very fair and balanced approach to it, and it was still terrifying, like you're saying. Um,